Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Bituation Room on a Thursday, September 11th, 2025. An auspicious date. Good thing there's no more violence in the United States of America. Ironic, isn't it? And today I'm going to be joined by Wajahat Ali in just a little bit to talk about all of the fallout since the Charlie Kirk murder. A little bit of a technical note. I've been having really bad internet issues. And so I'm also without a producer today. So if you can just let me know how it's looking, that would be awesome. Tell me if I'm blurry or if I'm not. I may have to change some things up in the middle of this, switch to, if it's really blurry, I might bail and restart. So I just wanted to name that off the top. We have a new router happening. So hopefully things will be better. Thank you, Clear. Thank you, guys. And obviously, we're going to be talking about this murder of Charlie Kirk. Just an awful, awful episode yesterday where he was shot at what appears to be, a couple hundred yards of distance in the neck and pretty much instantly killed. And all of the fallout from it, because right now we are living in a moment where the suspect has not been caught, despite Kash Patel saying that the suspect was apprehended and in custody. The suspect has not been caught yet. We don't know the suspect's motive. We don't know. There's been misinformation about bullet casings or something like this, and having pro-LGBTQ messages. That is misinformation. Kash Patel, as if you need him on the case, has been sent to Utah, and so he will be there. And again, the manhunt continues. There's images of a person of interest that have been released. Seems like a skinny white guy with glasses and a hat, wearing an American shirt, long sleeve, like an American flag long sleeve shirt. I mean, really could be many different people. But of course, because we live under the rise of authoritarian fascism and far-right extremism, and a party that loves to blame others, and that's how they have risen to power, blaming immigrants, women, people of color broadly, blaming them. Honestly, ironically, even the ways that Charlie Kirk himself got his start when he was 18 years old, which was blaming a Black person for getting a job that he didn't, specifically getting into West Point, and when he did not get into West Point. So that is the world we're living in. And of course, because it is Donald Trump's country, he had this to say last night. And if you haven't watched it, I'm going to play it and then react. I have, off the bat, if you guys have been following me on social media or you've heard what I said, this is unquestionably disgusting. And it also unquestionably can be, we do not have to live like this. Nobody has to live like this. We can restrain weapons of war in our communities, in homes. We can put background checks on guns. We can limit sniper rifles or whatever was used from being in the hands of people who should not have them. It would make everyone safer, including the supposed, police that this regime believes in so much, except for when they're preventing their followers from storming the Capitol on January 6th. In that case, they can, be impaled by a flagpole. But the point is that there is a nonpartisan solution to this hell that we're living in. And it was something that, ironically, Charlie Kirk himself did not believe in. He was someone who said that it was worth losing people in gun violence and in mass shootings in order to, in his mind, protect the Second Amendment. Of course, most Americans believe background checks, believe permits actually square with the rights of the Second Amendment. and do not infringe upon them. But with a government, a Supreme Court, and a population that has been propagandized to around any amount of gun control, no matter how much our children live in fear for their lives, no matter how many children die or see their loved ones or friends die, we won't do it. The politicians in control will not do gun control. And it is a very perilous time. It has been a perilous time. So there is one side that has been in favor of gun control. There is one side that does not want to see more gun violence. And then there is another side. And ironically, Charlie Kirk was very much a part of that. And even more ironically, Charlie Kirk was in the middle of answering a question about mass shootings and gun violence when he himself lost his life senselessly. So we can talk. We will talk. Waj has a lot to say about political violence. But the fact remains is that Democrats, liberals, progressives, leftists, even if you believe in gun ownership, even if you own a gun, believe in background checks, in permits, in, mental health care. It's easier to get a gun than it is to access your meds, a psychiatrist or psychologist in this country, okay? This is the toxic soup that we swim in every damn day. And here is Donald Trump stirring the pot on all of this and memorializing Charlie Kirk as a hero. Let's take a listen.
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror.
I just want to dispute that right up top. Interestingly, all who knew him and loved him are not the only ones who are in shock and horror. Most people are in shock and horror. It's a terrible thing to do to somebody and a horrible way to die. So just get that out of the way. That most people, yes, I understand glibly that that a lot of people, will off the cuff and flippantly say otherwise, but most people who hated him and did not have any love for Charlie Kirk are also in shock and horror.
Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people.
Okay, just we got to pause there again and welcome Wajahat Ali of The Left Hook, where we are currently streaming, and Charlie Kirk loving democracy. I'm gonna have to fact check that. I'm gonna have to flag that as not necessarily true. Didn't love democracy for all people. Didn't love liberty for all people. I had a lot of questions about the extent to which women could participate in the democracy that we live in. Had a lot of thoughts about liberty and the fact that somehow freedom is allowing weapons of war in our communities, and that is freedom. And being afraid to go to school, that is somehow freedom to him.
Francesca, I think two things can happen at the same time. I think we can condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk. We can condemn political violence. And I want to remind people we still don't have a suspect, which means we still don't have a motive. And we can remind the world that Charlie Kirk was a hateful piece of shit, a man who used his life to target the most vulnerable in society, a man who radicalized young people to hate women, black people, immigrants, Muslims, and transgender people, a man who should not in any way, shape, or form have his life of hate being whitewashed and sanitized, as what's happening right now in the New York Times, as what's happening on Twitter, on social media, on Axios. I think it's disgusting. I feel like banging my head against the wall, reading some of these frigging hagiography of Charlie Kirk, a man, like you said, who he proudly and openly embrace this hate, folks. It was not a one-off. He didn't stutter. He said it again and again and again. He's the same guy who said black people would be better off during slavery. He's the same person who said MLK was a horrible person. He's the same person who said, I think the Civil Rights Act was a mistake. He's the same person who didn't believe in the separation of church and state. He's the same person who thought that the women should be handmaidens to their husband. He's the same person who just said the worst things about Islam, promoted the same type of post 9/11 war on terror, Islamic civilizational bullshit that said that we're a threat. You know, we're going to slice the throat of Western civilization. This is a person who said that Palestine doesn't exist. He's a person who said that George Floyd had it coming. He's a person who said that most people are scared when they see a black pilot flying a plane. He's the person who said that gay people should be stoned to death. So I will say again, with my chest out, Charlie Kirk was a hateful piece of shit. And we should in no way, shape, or form sanitize this piece of shit and his legacy of hate. And at the same time, you can and should condemn murder and political violence. Yes. And we do not have a suspect. And the fact that this Donald Trump, this piece of crap, this hypocrite, this man who celebrated, mocked, ridiculed Paul Pelosi after he was hammered, the person who didn't send Melissa Hortman's family a message, no Flagstaff for Melissa Hortman, no phone call for Melissa Hortman, right? Because the shooter and killer was Vance Bolter, a Trumper. By the way, the person who tried to assassinate Donald Trump, another Trumper, right? Now we are supposed to have empathy for a man who literally said, and I want to quote him, Francesca, this is what he said. This is what Charlie Kirk, I'm using his own words. I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is made up New Age term that does a lot of damage. And like what you were saying, the tragic irony, it is tragic that the man who spent his life mocking gun control was killed in a shooting as he was literally talking about mass shooting and his last words were gang violence. Sorry, had to get that off my chest.
I mean, you did it, you do it, and you did it so well. And I think you have been, I think, actually one of the few voices who's been able to say what we are all thinking. And it's really important. And I just want to like say, it's really important to talk honestly and to guys, when you are by the mainstream news or by your own thoughts of what decorum looks like to you, censoring yourself about the realities of who this person was, you are agreeing to live under authoritarianism and real censorship. You are agreeing to forfeit your freedom of speech and the ability to criticize those in power. And so I ask you, as scary as this time is, and we'll talk about what Trump later said in this speech, to try to, as Waj does so brilliantly, hold these two things at the same time and do not back down from them.
Not an inch.
And do not, I know it's really scary, but I also just want to like open and say like, I'm afraid for sure, but also like giving into fear is also part of a fascist takeover. And when you don't, and even when you can, like, you know, point out all of these things and sort of touch grass and touch reality again and get off Axios and get off the New York Times.
Jesus.
It helps you. It's very important to like gather, to do this, to, you know, talk with your, you know, friends, family, whomever, you know, whatever. I hate to say this, but like do your research, look back at what Charlie Kirk has said. It is very free to access and you should do it. I did want to play this because this is, I think, why people are scared. And it is wild because there is no suspect. Kash Patel is going to Utah right now. We don't know a motive. I think we can talk about this afterwards, and let's see if this is the moment. I don't know if you know if this is the moment, but around here, Trump starts to talk about who is to blame.
All Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement.
You mean you? The people who go after judges are you. Waj, this is, okay, there's a few things. Charlie Kirk's body is not even cold. I mean, he has not been buried. And this is the president of the United States, what sounds like doing an open season call on anyone, the radical left, who contributed to Charlie Kirk's death. Now, let's say that this is someone on the left who did this heinous crime, right? But even then, people who agree, like this person hates Charlie Kirk, they're a wokey, they don't like his hate speech. People like you and I would be indirectly implicated because we agree with this person. This is bullshit. We've known this is bullshit. It's always been bullshit, right?
It's not even bullshit. Like you said, it's very dangerous. Folks, there's no suspect. We do not know the ideology. Yesterday, they're using this, and I'm going to use this word. This is the Reichstag fire moment, 1933. The burning down of the German parliament, where Nazis blamed a communist. We still don't know. Many people think it was the Nazis themselves who did it, but nonetheless, that moment was the state of emergency that Hitler and Nazis used to assume power and martial law. This is their Reichstag fire moment.
Aren't they claiming Reichstag? Aren't they actually saying this is a Reichstag moment?
As of yesterday, Wired did a fantastic write-up. As of last night, folks, where all these right-wing prominent people, it was also on Fox, Jesse Waters, Greg Gutfield, Nancy Mace, all blaming the left without any proof and any evidence, using the words like war, civil war, now is the moment, right? Because their first Reichstag fire was Big Balls, 19-year-old Big Balls. That's why we have the National Guard in D.C. People forget, because Big Balls said, I got carjacked by brown folks. Then they tried to make the martyr out of Ashley Babbitt. Now they got Charlie Kirk. And without any proof, folks, he is openly blaming the rhetoric of the left. It's first and foremost the Reichstag fire to mobilize what he feared was a splintering base because of Epstein, get them riled up. We still don't know the shooter. I will not be surprised if the shooter ends up being a Trump voter, much like the assassin, a radicalized Trump voter. If it happens to be him, I will not be surprised. But like you said,
put a pin in that. Just before we talk about, I do want to talk about this. Look, guys, he's coming out swinging against the radical left with absolutely zero proof and using it, let's be real, to further a mission that they were already on, which was they're going after Act Blue, for example, which is a massive, the platform that people donate to progressive candidates and causes and nonprofits. They've already been going after that. So this all just feels like you already are doing a thing, and now you're using this death to justify the thing that you're already doing, but then just kind of blowing the conch shell to get all the psycho actual white nationalists to attack us. I mean, it is wild. And
there's a name for that, Francesca. Exactly what you said. The definition, the name of that is stochastic terrorism. And if I may, it's literally what you said it in layman's terms. Can I just define it? For those who don't know, I've been saying it for a while that Trump is the #1 stochastic terrorist in America. This is stochastic terrorism. How public figures use inflammatory, dehumanizing, or hateful rhetoric to create an environment where it becomes statistically more likely, though not individually predictable, that an ideologically aligned person will commit a violent act. And this is not the first time. It's all projection. The person who killed the son of a judge, a Trumper. The person who attacked Paul Pelosi, a Trumper. The person who's in jail right now for sending functional pipe bombs to Trump's critics from the first administration, a Trumper, Cesar Saig. The person or the people who tried to attack or plotting, death threats against Dr. Fauci, Trumpers. The person who attacked the CDC last month and killed a police officer, Trumper. The people who tried to kidnap Governor Whitmer of Michigan, Trumper. The people who firebombed Josh Shapiro's house, Trumper. The person who was killed because he attacked the FBI office after Donald Trump talked about the deep state, Trumper. The people who are threatened poll workers like Ruby Shea Moss, the mother and daughter of Georgia, they said Trump pointed at us, Rudy Giuliani pointed at us, we got death threats. Trumpers. The 1,600 violent insurrectionists, Trumpers.
And
This is why
in
it's scary,
June,
Francesca.
it's still the summer. It's still the summer here in LA. It's hot as hell. But Melissa Hortman and her husband and their dog, you guys, in probably the scariest video, the scariest mask I've ever seen. Vance Bolter comes to their door and dressed as law enforcement, right? And kills them in cold blood. I mean, it is terrifying. And this just happened, and not a word, and not just a word, not out of Trump that you said, couldn't be bothered to pick up the phone, couldn't be bothered to go to the memorial, but the news media. I mean, I'm here and like local news in LA is like wall to wall Charlie Kirk. Where's the wall to wall on these Democratic legislators? Like, it is insane the number of Democrats who've been targeted with political violence. And it's not just stochastic terrorism against Democrats, but to your point about, who you scapegoat and all this, what about all of the mass shooters who have been Trumpers or Trump inspired? The Tree of Life synagogue massacre against Jewish Americans,
Robert
El
Bowers.
Paso shooter against
Patrick Crucius.
Latinos, right? The
Yep.
Tops grocery store in Buffalo, and that shooter who killed Black Americans. These are psychos who wanted to maximize the number of people of color that they could kill. To say nothing of like the many Arab and Muslim hate crimes and attacks that have happened, God, all the way back, since 9/11. So political violence and stochastic terrorism are this administration's love language, is the right's love language. They've normalized it and they've allowed it to persist. And the media honestly allows them to keep getting away with it. I do want to just go down this little, thought exercise.
Please.
Because we don't know who the suspect is. There is no real lead. We've got these photos. But to your point about, Epstein and possibly being a right winger, we do know that the person who attempted to assassinate Trump was a Republican. We also know that Charlie Kirk dropped the Epstein story once his, quote, friends in the DOJ and the government told him there was nothing to see, that Epstein killed himself, there was no black book, there's nobody implicated, move it all along. And his audience was very divided. I mean, there were many people who were mad at him for dropping that. And I think it's also important. I mean, this is from Robert Downin on Twitter. I thought this was very good.
Is this about the Groypers and Fuentes?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. So not only could the Epstein stuff and dropping that, because again, sorry, really quickly, Waj, if you have an audience member who subscribes very lovingly and loyally to the Left Hook on Substack, who gets mad at you for something or disagrees with you on your takes on which Star Wars was the best, are you at all afraid that they're going to come hurt you or shoot at you? Of course not, because that's not the audience that you cultivate. And I think it's really important to say that right-wing propaganda can hit the propagandist. And as you mentioned, I mean, what about the dude out with the Cybertruck outside of Trump Tower in Vegas?
Can I bring some evidence to the point you just made? Because people forget we like to bring the receipts. Mitt Romney 2 years ago when he was promoting his book, remember what he said? His Republican colleagues are afraid of his words, right-wing violence. They're afraid of their own base. 6 months ago, Eric Swalwell, my Republican colleagues tell me that they're afraid of their own voters who chased Mike Pence on January 6th. Trumpers. They have radicalized their base. Their base is like Frankenstein's monster. And now the base has turned on them because of the Epstein files. And specifically for 10 years, they radicalized their base with QAnon, the QAnon conspiracy. Who radicalized Ashley Babbitt that made her a violent insurrectionist? QAnon. What tipped Vance Bolter over the edge? QAnon. That's the white Trumper who tried to kill Melissa Hortman. Yeah. And now Epstein is a fissure. Well, you know what's also two other fissures? Well, right before you mentioned this one, and it's a really good thread that you're about to mention, Laura Loomer deleted her post. Laura Loomer deleted her tweet. Laura Loomer yesterday deleted the tweet where she said that Charlie Kirk had stabbed Trump in the back by platforming that libertarian comic Dave Smith. Ooh. Dave Smith, who no longer, is a Trumper, Charlie Kirk platform him at Turning Points USA, and she said, "How dare you, Turning Points USA, traitors! Charlie
Oof.
Kirk, look what you've done.
Oof.
You stabbed Trump in the back." And Laura Loomer deleted that tweet, folks. So you got that
Yes.
faction, the Epstein faction, you got the Laura Loomer faction, and now you got the Nick Fuentes Groypers faction.
So this is stuff I didn't know, and I'm sure people listening, a lot of people I know are like, I had no idea who Charlie Kirk was, and I love you for that, and I hope we never have to learn all the names of these right-wing influencers.
I envy all of you because I know all these horrible pieces of shit.
Exactly. So this is Robert Down and says, I'm not in any way speculating, but I'm actually shocked how few people know that Charlie Kirk has for years been among the most reviled people on the planet by white supremacists, many of whom were radicalized by sustained campaigns painting him as an anti-white fraud. Again, I'm not speculating about the shooter. I just have been stunned how quickly people have jumped with certainty to partisan conclusions, because in extremism spaces, the Charlie Kirk hater to Nazi pipeline is canon. It's how we got a generation of anti-Semitic extremists. Nick Fuentes literally built his movement attacking Kirk from the right. They turned him into a caricature of all that they detested: faux populism, Zionism, and anti-white policy, astroturf by billionaires and establishment elites who would sell out their race for political power. And Kirk hatred was also crucial to their growth. At TPUSA events, they'd grill him on Israel, immigration, and etc., never going mask off, but subtly injecting their invective into more mainstream GOP conversations. And this would inevitably peel off a few sympathizers in attendance. The quote, Groyper War, as they call it, is literally how Nick Fuentes became Nick Fuentes. It's how a generation of angry young men took their first step into this fascist rabbit hole. For many, it was as simple as starting to question why Charlie Kirk wouldn't say XYZ about ABC. And the other thing he then notes, and other people note, is that Charlie was sort of making more overtures to the far extremist, like actual Nazi right. But, you know, it's crazy. That is just insane, right? And also so believable. I mean, there are many even worse factions on the right. And it also, I just forgot to say, and I wanted to mention, Waj, that like, even just saying Charlie Kirk's ideology is hateful is being painted by, you know, POS's, let's be real, like Piers Morgan, because all Piers Morgan does is say that. Piers Morgan has said this. Donald Trump has said this. Hell, even Cenk Uygur has said this, that when you call the fascists, it makes them do fascism. The real hate is calling out the hate mongers. Can't we all just get along? And it's like, I'm sorry, one of us believes in a pluralistic democracy with, you know, limits on guns, and the other doesn't. Who the fuck is hateful? Who the fuck is intolerant? And who is not? This is the "you're not tolerant of my intolerance" line, and I'm so tired of it.
I brought out this fantastic tweet cartoon by Matt Bors. I bring it out like every couple of months. If you haven't seen it, it's on my Blue Sky. And Matt Bors talked about this. We're like, oh my God, look at this hateful Trump voter. I can't believe you call me racist. Now I have to be a racist. And the lady is like, you don't have to be a racist. Oh my God, now I'm going to replace my costume with the Nazi uniform. She goes, wait, what? Okay, now you're forcing me to shave my hair, right? It's 9/11. For 24 years as a Muslim, I've been called a terrorist. Hasn't made me into a terrorist, right? For 24 years, I've been called Hamas. Hasn't made me into Hamas, right?
Right.
If some people call you Nazi, it's probably because you act and behave like a Nazi. You take photos with Nazis. You dine with Nazi sympathizers like Nick Fuentes. The Patriot Front, which is pro-Nazi group, marches in your honor. You call Nazis who assembled at Charlottesville, and one neo-Nazi killed Heather Heyer. Very fine people on both sides. And me and Francesca didn't call you Hitler. Your own vice president called you America's Hitler, and you rewarded him by making him your vice president. All right. So if I'm calling you a racist, this it's white grievance and white rage. It's been happening throughout history, right? You called me a racist, which made me into a racist. You forced me to become a supporter of Nick Fuentes. I'm like, no, bro, that's all you, right? And if you're really, really upset about terrible words, inflammatory words, well, what about JD Vance? And if you really don't want to be called Nazi, stop quoting Hitler. Who quotes Hitler? Donald Trump, enemy of the people, poisoning the blood, right? Hitler did some good things. And furthermore, if inflammatory rhetoric will be blamed on the left for creating violence, Well, what about you with your stochastic terrorism, talking about invasion, calling people rapists and criminals, saying immigrants are poisoning the blood, talking about the deep state, promoting the QAnon conspiracy, even though in 2020 the FBI warned you that it would radicalize individuals and groups to violence, and then it did on January 6th? What about you straight up inciting a violent insurrection and then pardoning the insurrectionists? Folks, I refuse to concede an inch. I've spent way too long following these people. I have all these receipts in my head because I'm a masochist. Anytime they push anything like this, straight up give it back to them. Call out their hypocrisy, which is why when Elizabeth Warren and Governor Pritzker yesterday said their response, it was really good. And I don't know if you saw Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries' response today. Just so pathetic, Francesca.
Are they videos? I can pull them up, but I did want to pull up.
It came out today. Just the most milquetoast, pathetic, neutered bullshit response. You know, Warren and Pritzker off the cuff were on point. They're like, please look at Donald Trump. So what they're trying to do, and it's successful, and I'm so glad you mentioned corporate media. Folks, corporate media is complicit. Look, I don't know if did you show them Ezra Klein's New York Times article? This is the headline. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Charlie Kirk was practicing politics the right way. That was published yesterday by Ezra Klein in the New York Times. Did you read the Axios article, the Axios post? It's my I feel like my brain is gonna leak from my ears, Francesca.
Yeah. No, it's
Let me send it to you. I'll send it to you.
This is I think Mehdi, I was gonna cue these up, but I did have maybe a governor who is not rising to the occasion either. This is Gavin Newsom of California saying we should all feel a deep sense of grief and outrage at the terrible violence that took place in Utah today. Charlie's murder is sick and reprehensible, and our thoughts with his family, children, and loved ones. Fine. The best way to honor Charlie's memory is to continue his work, engage with each other across ideology through spirited discourse. Okay, but like, I'm sorry, straight cis white guy, how many like with lots of money and power? I'm so glad Charlie was nice to you those times. Good for you. How many Muslims has he sat down with to talk about? How many trans people has he sat down to talk about? How many immigrants has he humanized by having them on his show to be like, hey, you don't eat babies, do you? How many, like, even the few times that he honestly engaged with people, which was, I believe, with like a feminist during maybe one of the surrounded what's that thing that Maddie did that I'm like totally
Jubilee.
The Jubilee things, like he got destroyed by a feminist and then was like, nope, never again, and like,
Oh, and he said also black people were better off during slavery, during that Jubilee debate.
We could get good stuff. Good. Let's continue that legacy and engage. I mean, it's like nobody can take you seriously after this. Nobody.
Francesca, you made such a good point. I'm glad because we brought it up earlier with me and Danielle. And I said it last night. Notice all the white folks. We like the whites. Francesca's half white. Some of my best friends are white. We love the moderate whites. But look at these powerful corporate establishment hack whites who are tone policing the rest of us, who are with their paternalistic finger wagging. And you know why they have the privilege of doing that? Because it doesn't affect them. It doesn't impact them. So they can write these hagiographies, right? I was talking to Danielle about this. We've always joked, in order for me and Danielle to have a monument, a bridge, or a statue named after us, like these Confederate treasonous losers, we would have to create statues and monuments, right? These were racist traitors. Not only did they secede from the country, they effing lost the war. And then this country romanticizes them and sane washes them in death and names monuments after them. And you always think, how could this country do that? And you're witnessing it in real time. The sanitizing of Charlie Kirk, right? And then Danielle made up a good point, brought a good point. Something we've talked about is we always wonder how the same corporate media will lionize and sanitize Donald Trump. He was a charismatic outsider, a man who shot from the hip.
He understood these numbers real good that one time. Like it's grading them on a curve. And I think the reality is what Mitt Romney said, and what, who's the other homie? What Swalwell said, which is they're afraid. And this is
Yep.
really terrifying when you have your media outlets afraid. I mean, and let's keep it 100, man. Chaya Wright-Chick behind Libs of TikTok, who has personally put a hit out on transgender kids and drag queens across the country, on children's hospitals, you know, being responsible for however many bomb threats, has ironically, or had ironically in her bio, stochastic terrorist, right? Because I think the New York Times, somebody called her that, and she, you know, ironically and proudly put that in her bio.
Yeah, they own it. They own it. Can I read you the Ax? I finally found it. This was Axios. This is their tweet. This is their headline.
Oh, I was
just
going to
wanna
put
read
up Ezra Klein, but go ahead.
I'm going to quote Charlie Kirk, the singular leader of MAGA's next generation,
Oh boy.
who is survived by his wife and 2 young children, was a fierce champion of the right to free expression. His voice was silenced by an assassin's bullet. 7:27 a.m. September 11th. Axios.
I mean, this is insane. Like that kind of stuff is insane. And this is from Ezra Klein. Charlie Kirk was pressing politics in the right way. The foundation of a free society is the ability to participate in politics without fear of violence. And let's just stop down here really quick, because the first reaction, and I think a lot of people watching, their first reaction to January 6th was, oh my God, if those were Black Lives Matter protesters, if they were majority people of color, or even a third, they would be gunned down by now. They would not have made it past the steps. They would have open fired on them. I have been a part of many demonstrations that have been repressed with tear gas, rubber bullets, and then, you know, at some point, I mean, hopefully not, but like you can imagine live ammunition would have come out. The point is that who gets to practice politics in the open? Who gets their freedom of speech unrestricted no matter what? Who can walk cavalierly around a college campus, spew the most hateful things, and expect that he will be untouched? Those people are usually white men with a lot of power. Okay? That's just the reality of it. And let's take it one step further, because I think it's important to understand where I come from is like political comedy and like, you know, skewering people. I have a theory that you cannot go to MAGA rallies the way that the Good Liars do, the way that Walter Masterson, comedian, does, the way that Jordan Klepper of The Daily Show goes, if you are not a cis het tall white guy. Like I know one of the guys in Good Liars is not as tall, and I love you, my guy, but like if those are women, if they are people of color, you are not getting past, you know, the lines to interview folks. I went and interviewed Trumpers I haven't been out in the field as much since 2016, but in 2016 at his inauguration, I did, and it was not a good experience. And they were happy. They were happy, and it was scary. So
I did the same. Me too.
I want to name that there is privilege in being able to just speak your mind. And we think that is somehow, no, that's just how he was. He just said, no, man. It's because many people of color do. They are repressed. They are imprisoned. They are silenced. They are stalked. Look at all of the people who have spoken out around Palestine, especially people of color. They are doxxed. They lose their jobs. They get suspended from school. They have to change addresses. I had Taylor Lorenz on 2 weeks ago. She laughs at anyone who would call her friends of Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens, because she's had to move. Her parents have had to move multiple times because of Tucker Carlson hate. So like, let's keep it 100 with who gets to speak their mind in this country.
You're calling out the double standard, and the double standard is being revealed in real time. Whose lives matter? Who gets romanticized in death? Who gets elevated? Who gets the Congressional Medal of Freedom? That's what Charlie Kirk is getting, which means it means nothing anymore. It's this: civility for me, cruelty for thee. Safe space for me, but gun violence for thee. No mockery of me, but I get to mock thee. Right? That's what, those are MAGA rules.
Oh, yeah.
Those are fascist rules, right?
Yes.
You see it happening again and again and again. free speech for me, but you can't make fun of me, right? That's all it is. A complete double standard, a complete asymmetrical relationship. And you're seeing it right now in corporate. I'll give an example. You talked about 9/11. You talked about January 6th. It's a dark humor. I say same thing happens. Forget same thing happens. Suppose a bunch of black and brown bearded Muslims showed up just speaking Arabic, and we were protesting for, I don't know, education. And we didn't beat up cops. And there was 2,000 of us. What would happen, Francesca? There would be chalk lines. Now, if the same thing happened with black and brown people doing the same thing that these insurrectionists were doing, do you think we would survive? Do you think we'd even get inside the Capitol?
Nope.
Do you think Donald Trump would unleash the National Guard? Do you
they would have
think
been
he
killed.
would praise Ashley Babbitt? Do you think he'd pardon them? Do you think these people would get settlements? Do you think they'd be in the government right now? Are you kidding me? On 9/11, as we talk about the war on terror for the past 24 years, where this country chose to attack Afghanistan and Iraq and traumatize and kill generations on bullshit narratives of mobile laboratories of weapons of mass destruction that didn't exist, the mass surveillance, the creation of ICE, NSEERS project, the first registry that kicked out all these innocent Muslims, hate crimes, right? Do you think this country would allow us to do what they did? Of course not. And I was thinking about this yesterday. Louis Farrakhan, Nation of Islam leader, right? Yes. Said many controversial things, many hateful things against Jews. He's conservative, but nonetheless a leader of Nation of Islam. Now, let's just imagine, hope this never happens. I'm just imagining. Suppose something happens and he's killed in the same way. Do you think we would see the same type of hagiographies and sanitizing and whitewashing of Louis Farrakhan just because he was a leader, a very respected leader, very influential of the Nation of Islam, and despite his troubling history? Don't you think they would lead with that? Absolutely. They would lead with it in the freaking headlines?
No, that's a really, really good example. And I'm trying to think of more, but I also feel like, and I don't want to say in whatever, I think he's probably feeling, he's been threatened openly too, but you have like Hassan Piker, right? Who streams every single day and sometimes says some flip shit, just like we all say some flip shit. Right. And it's because it's freedom of speech and he's just talking out there. Do you think that if somebody attacked him, they're going to lead with like all the heroic things that he said, or like whatever, like call him a hero, or like all the, it was a freedom? No, they're going to find the worst things that somebody said and lead with that, lead with the, his identity and all this. But you're totally right. That's such a good example. Like
left-wing Twitch star and Trump agitator Hassan Piker.
Exactly. It's baked into the headline of this person had it coming. And look, no one should have it. Having it coming is not a thing. All right. We don't believe in political violence, especially even though it is rained down on us and our communities and on Democrats constantly in these acts of terrorism, in these acts of mass shootings, even though we don't have to live like this when it comes to guns. And I want to just put this out there because it is also a time that, the State Department is not pulling any punches with who it is targeting when it comes to free speech.
Nope.
State Department warns immigrants not to mock Kirk's death. Excuse me? What?
Look at the consequences.
Are immigrants mocking Kirk's death at any a greater rate than citizens? Or is any what are you talking about? God, I got to go to the hang on.
They're saying that any immigrant that is caught mocking Trump's death is at violation of losing their privileges and potentially being deported. So, this
is a Stephen Millerism, just going like
free speech for me, none for thee. Where are the First Amendment warriors? Where are the free speech warriors? Where is Barry Weiss on this? And again, what immigrants have mocked, they haven't. It's all projection. The last time I checked, the only person who was mocking was, Donald Trump mocking Paul Pelosi, Charlie Kirk mocking Paul Pelosi. You can't make this up. Utah Senator Mike Lee, just a couple of weeks ago, mocking Governor Walz after the shooter was found in Minnesota. Massacre on Wall Street.
Jeez. I've forgotten about that. Would review the legal status of immigrants, praising rationalizing or making light of conservative activist Charlie Kirk's fatal shooting. And again, Donald Trump in that speech also talks about the murder of United Healthcare CEO, which, was an emblem for many people, Americans suffering under our privatized healthcare system. And it was very bipartisan in terms of people who rationalized that, again, unjustified death, but rationalized it by saying, I don't know. I know a lot of people who've died, and I have been myself affected by a lack of health insurance and a lack of access to health insurance and a lack of money. We live in a highly violent society. It's never called political violence. It's never called terrorism. It's just that low level, everyday political terrorism. So if you needed any more excuse that they are absolutely trying to target certain people, leftists, Democrats, immigrants, with something that, I mean, Jesus Christ, we don't even know. We do not know who did this.
And that's the thing, folks. We don't know who did this. We don't have the motive. We don't have a suspect. I want to remind everyone that they tried to do the same thing right after the Trump shooter. They tried, and then they went quiet because they found out that it was a white gun enthusiast Republican Trump voter. And the way they tried to spin it, because I was on Piers Morgan the next day, the way they tried to spin it shamelessly, and then it didn't work because they realized he was hella Republican.
Attempted assassination, right?
Yeah, hella Republican, hella Trump. They're like, he one time donated $10 to Act Blue several years ago, so we don't know. And I'm like, no, we know. There were Trump signs on the lawn, and he was a gun enthusiast, and he became Republican, and he voted Trump. So I will not be surprised. Look, we don't know. But I'm just saying out there because we don't know, so we're not going to be reckless. And also, look at this, the Wall Street Journal. I don't know if you saw this one. We have to correct this. This went viral, and then me and a few others have tried to literally set the record straight. The Wall Street Journal, relying upon a source, said the following, that federal local officials recovered ammunition with the shooter's rifle that appeared to be engraved with statements expressing transgender and anti-fascist ideology, end quote, right? But this is the context that they missed, Francesca. But a senior law enforcement official with direct knowledge of the investigation cautioned that report had not been verified by the ATF analysts, did not match other summaries of the evidence, and might turn out to have been misread or misinterpreted. It didn't matter. They had already promoted all-around right-wing media.
That there were casings that had like pro LGBTQ messaging or whatever. I mean, and this is, I think...
Yeah, the source was Steven Crowder. Thank you. Someone mentioned that. Steven Crowder being the source.
Oh, he's an investigative, he's part of the FBI now. He's got a little deputy badge. I mean, they're hiring podcasters left and right, so it makes sense that he is part of the FBI. I mean, it is very, very scary that that kind of misinformation would be allowed to be put out there. And again, like, it also, and I have to say, like, I put out this on Instagram, but not only when you jump to conclusions is it wrong and irresponsible and dangerous, and maybe deliberately so, it's also very suspicious. So if you are currently in the act of doing the, police work, but then you're like, nah, it was definitely that guy over there. I know. That immediately makes you look a little bit sus in the act. And so doing things like saying we got a suspect when you don't, promoting things like, the shell casings had this and that when it doesn't, like doing all of this. And also it's been pointed out, and it is very suspicious. We found out that Charlie Kirk died from the president. Why not like a coroner or somebody at a hospital in Utah, at the university, at the local police? Why did we find out he died from the president? What is going on?
Because you have an incompetent, unqualified reek, Kash Patel, without any law enforcement background as the head of the FBI. The deputy director is pro-conspiracy theorist Dan Bongino's, who's been MIA because he realizes Donald Trump is in the Epstein files and he wants to win over his base. And also in his purge, which was news yesterday, that FBI agents are saying that Kash Patel has done litmus tests and loyalty tests, and some of these loyalty questions are like, who'd you vote for and do you support Donald Trump? That was a big piece of news that came out yesterday. It would be a friggin' 2-hour scandal, a 2-year scandal if it was Biden. But Kash Patel also, folks, in his purge, removed the senior FBI agent of Salt Lake City. So you don't have expertise, and you have this shit show where they have a suspect and then they release them, and now they release this information without the context, and then already yesterday, without any evidence or proof, Donald Trump and all of right wing is blaming the left, even though we don't have a suspect or a motive. So this, yes, Game of Thrones reek, for someone who asks. Yes, the Game of Thrones reek. So this is what happens when you have the least qualified people. And also, I just want to remind people, least qualified people, just to, if you were sleeping comfortably, maybe this will make you sleep with an eye open. You have FEMA staffers warning of a, quote, Katrina level disaster because of cuts disaster relief and also incompetence of the head. EPA folks are saying the same thing. CDC folks are saying the same thing. And yet now you have FBI folks saying the same thing. And the reason you need competence is for moments like this.
Yes. Don't worry. We're not like on the precipice of hurricane season or anything. I just wanted to shout out Lionel for this. Lionel for this comment. Matt Dowd got fired from SMAC gig for saying Kirk was a divisive figure who's sort of pushing this hate speech. I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which lead to hateful actions. I just want to play that. He got fired for saying this.
The full details of this, that we don't know if this was a supporter shooting their gun off in celebration, or so we have no idea about this. But following up on what was just said, he's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at certain groups. And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. And I think that's the environment we're in, that people just, you can't stop with these sort of awful thoughts you have and then saying these awful words and not expect awful actions to take place.
Matt.
And that's the unfortunate environment we're in.
Matt, don't say that. That is the unfortunate environment we're in. He is not celebrating that. He is naming it. And the fact that he said expecting it not to take place. Look, I think there could have been, he was just using an aphorism, like a phrase, like, hateful words, hateful deeds, hateful thoughts, whatever. The way I put it yesterday is and just earlier, it's like when you gin up this kind of audience, when you build an audience that it might be armed to the teeth, it is not beyond us to think about that audience at one point turning on you or using those weapons or that, the hate speech that you spew against you. And that's all he was saying. And he said it in kind of a much more poetic way, but he got fired.
By Rebecca Cutler, who was my senior when I was at CNN, and I got 3.5 warnings by Rebecca Cutler because of the butthurt feelings of my Republican counterparts and colleagues, such as Scott Jennings and also a few others. So she called me about 3 or 4 times, said, now, we have to be civil. I'm like, what? Really? I had completely forgotten about it and moved on. That Rebecca Cutler now runs MSNBC. And just to show you how I'm sorry to say this is just worthless, how corporate media is in the tank. We saw the New York Times headline. We saw Axios. They fired Matthew Dowd. He didn't say anything wrong. And this was in real time. And he's not wrong about that, right? Let me make it even dumber point. If you radicalize your base and create a bloodthirsty monster, you should not be surprised if that monster commits violence. And you should not be surprised if that monster once in a while turns on you, which is what we're witnessing with the Epstein files. And what we witnessed with the Trump's assassination attempt when it was a Trumper.
Yeah, I mean, he could I think it's just and this is what we talk about when we say censorship, when we talk about self-policing, and the mainstream media helps with all of that. You're not allowed to say that hate speech can lead to hateful actions. You're not allowed to say that maybe we should all take the rhetoric down a little bit. It is not hateful to call out hate speech. If you say, and I don't think those people should vote and we should go with pitchforks to their homes, obviously that's bad and different. But this is the kind of mass gaslighting that we are being subjected to. And it's funny because we have kind of a corollary and everything always comes back to Gaza for me, because we've seen such a perfect little petri dish of gaslighting around this genocide and the feelings of Israeli Zionists and the feelings of people who say that from the river to the sea is violent. The feelings of these slogans. Meanwhile, the children are starving to death. The children are being sniper bulleted in the head by IDF soldiers. The children are being lured to food aid sites only to be murdered. I mean, like, and then we're told, no, they're the bad guys. Like, that propaganda is being weaponized, used, and has been used by the right against anyone who would have a problem with what they're doing.
My discomfort trumps your genocide. My need to feel comfortable trumps your oppression.
Yes.
It is white supremacy and fascism, which is why it is very similar to what we're seeing with Israel's defenders, where their feelings are centered above the actual occupation of Palestinians.
Yep.
Where their feelings are not on a both sides. You know, if you want to do both sides, fine, but it's not both sides. You know, you and me, I don't know if this happened to you, but I said this exactly what you just said. I was invited to an off the record talk with an organization talking exactly about this, how this organization, which is very important, can move beyond Israel and Palestine. I said it's completely unfair. It's completely unbalanced. We have to start from there. There's not a level playing field right now, right? It's an immense power differential. The double standards that we're witnessing right now between Charlie Kirk and Melissa Hortman, the double standards when it comes to a liberal versus open stochastic right-wing terrorism, the double standards when it comes to Palestinians having to. I'm not Palestinian, Francesca. On Piers Morgan, here's an example right here, real time. 2 years ago, my first appearance on Piers Morgan. I'm a brown-skinned man. I'm an American citizen. I've never been arrested. I've condemned violent extremism. I have all the receipts. I've been morally consistent. I was on with a friggin' right-wing pro-Israel nut like you have been on with, right? Mm-hmm. I was asked, do you condemn? I have to preemptively condemn violent acts done by violent people just to have an entrance towards a civilized conversation. But the pro-Israeli counterpart never has to condemn Benjamin Netanyahu, Ben Gvir, the IDF, the occupation, or the apartheid, or ever excuse or rationalize their support for such individuals. And now I give you Charlie Kirk. Mm-hmm. No one's even asked, do you condemn Charlie Kirk wanting to stone gays? Do you condemn Charlie Kirk saying that black people? No. Can you imagine if there was a liberal version of Charlie Kirk who said something about Israelis? You and me would say, do you condemn Mamdani? Look at It's real time, folks. Yeah. Look at Zoran Mamdani, who has to condemn a chant he has never even used, Francesca.
Yeah. I want to read a few comments because people are really agreeing with y'all. Joe Cab, member for 5 months, is really telling the folks in the media are coming up with these laudatory takes on Kirk because they see themselves in his story. Pathetic. And it also, I think, is just this next level of like, so you... It's like, are we really prizing a like influencer? Like, again, this is awful. What happened is fucking heinous, but it is really heinous to be like, well, I don't know. In order for the world to be sad about your death and your murder, you should not be a politician. You should be a hateful, loudmouth podcaster astroturfed by billionaires. like. Anyway, it's just insane. Rachel Atwood says honor his memory is to releasing the full Epstein files. Allison Donnelly, you think Jenk and Charlie ever got that beer? I think they did. I mean, they didn't need to. Charlie
Isn't Jenk platforming Marjorie Taylor Greene now?
He is.
Guys, folks, Marjorie Taylor Greene is not your friend. Let me say it again. Marjorie Taylor Greene is not your friend. Lauren Boebert is not your friend. A white trash clock can be right twice a day. They are not your friends. They know their base. Their base is radicalized. They know their base is turning on Trump because of Epstein and Israel. That's why they've come out. They don't care about women. They don't care about Muslims. They don't care about Palestinians. They don't care about Arabs. Please do not be played. Sorry, I had to say that.
Yeah, and I agree. And I also can say that I think that if there is real legislation that Marjorie Greene can actually get to work on to put any kind of, action behind her rhetoric, go ahead, girl. Go ahead. Restrict weapons to Israel. I think that vote was fine. I disagreed with AOC not voting for that one piece of legislation inside a bill that was not going to pass anyway. So it was sort of all just a little bit of an exercise. But I am not in Congress. I don't have to give her flowers. I can be like, I can note the change, but I am not necessarily her ally. I'm not her ally. In fact, I'm not her ally.
You're not AOC's ally.
No, I'm not Marjorie Greene's ally.
Oh yeah,
Is what I'm saying.
yeah. Same here. You can say well done, and also recognize the threat, and also not have the memory of freaking goldfish. For the love of God, people, do not suffer. I literally heard some people say Marjorie Taylor Greene, man, she's awesome. I'm like, no, she's not awesome. Just because she does one good thing, okay. And also Epstein files, folks. I'll give credit where credit's due. Thomas Massey, a couple hours ago, he's on it. Thomas Massey is on the Epstein files, and I don't know if you saw that news came out, the 18,000 plus emails of Epstein, Yahoo emails that came out that show Ghislaine Maxwell being totally complicit, and the birthday book, folks. The Epstein files ain't going away. Let me tell you that.
So, I mean, that's what's really the conversation on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday until this happened was about this insane birthday book that Trump contributed to, with a gross image of maybe an underage girl. Brentacorn is kind of on this level with me. Charlie Kirk targeted as his right-wing popularity is waning, but before he's too irrelevant to be a martyr, I'm dusting off my tinfoil hat. Charlie Kirk also, whatever. Like, I don't know, but it certainly changed the conversation away from Epstein. I'm not
just for now. I don't think my prediction. It ain't going away.
Yeah.
Just for now, it ain't going away. Because you know why? They radicalize their own base. It's their base that hasn't forgotten, folks. It ain't the libs. It ain't the Dems. It's their own base.
And the other thing I saw, God, who threaded this? It was good. Which is it? Are radical leftists like soy boy, pussy, weaklings who don't know how to handle a gun, or are they like military grade style marksmen who can carry out some kind of assassination like this? Like, make up your mind. Rachel Atwood, always with great comments. He deserved to live to see his kids grow up and disown him for being such an evil prick. He should have been able to become a miserable, lonely old man. Yes. I had a more charitable take yesterday, trying to say, look, maybe that he's going to have like a reverse Fetterman situation and be like a better person after he emerges from a near-death experience. I mean, it didn't do much for Trump. Trump was just like... Trump was like, well, I was always senile.
Mass shooting reported at UMass Boston. Students seen fleeing.
Oh, my God. Shots
have been fired, prompting a large police response on campus. According to several UMass Boston alerts, the incident is a public safety threat. Sorry, I just saw that. Sorry.
And yesterday, was it Colorado?
Yep.
Another shooting at a school. Robert, thank you for your super chat. A scoped rifle at a distance, a single shot to a body part not covered by a bulletproof vest. This guy will never be caught to tell his tale. I think maybe you mean the shooter. I don't know. It does feel like it's just insane, right? The amount of weapons of war we have in this country. It's like, this is sad, but we have a long history of political assassinations. They're usually close range, right? It's always someone coming up. I mean, you've got obviously the grassy knoll in Kennedy. That was a rifle, I believe. But it's like, this is like a sniper shot. I don't know. What was the weapon they recovered?
From 100 yards away, a sniper shot, 100 yards away. That's what they're saying.
Yeah. Thank you
and
so
also,
much.
A terrifying statistic that lives in my head rent-free, which means that now I have to share with you. In a country of about 340 million people, United States of America, we're the only country that has more guns than people. There are 400 million guns in the United States of America, more mass shootings than any other place on earth. And the number one killer of kids and young teens for the past 2 years running is gun violence.
Yep. And we don't care. But what about the drag queen shows, Waj? I feel like that they also claim as many lives. Rachel Atwood reminding us that actually the UK fired their ambassador to the US, Peter Mandelson, over his Epstein links, which is so insane. It's like, oh, this is what a normal country would do. You have a letter in the Epstein book calling him your best pal. Probably not our best representative, but ironically, maybe your best representative given MAGA, given who this regime is, and given that nobody who had associations with him, i.e. Donald Trump, would ever fucking step down over them.
And also Brazil convicted Bolsonaro, for a coup, an assassination attempt. It seems like every other country seems to be learning from our F-ups.
Yes. Roller Dragon, we can't just go on with thoughts and players is what Charlie said. Love you. Looks great. Solid view. Yeah. I hope. Tell me if I'm blurry at any moment.
And
Serge
also, happy
Costa,
birthday to Francesca. I saw there was your birthday. When was it? Yesterday? Today?
Yesterday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday
9/10.
to you. Happy birthday, dear Francesca. Happy birthday to you.
9/10/1991.
You're so young.
I'm just kidding. Obviously, dude. Don't
She's
do
like,
that.
I wish.
Serge Costa, he's hiding his hand like I hide the patch of my jeans when a little pea seeps through. Wait, what are we talking about? That's very funny.
Donald Trump hiding his hand. Oh, did you see the videos of Trump today?
Oh, was falling asleep during the 9/11 memorial?
No, I mean, not just falling asleep, but I mean, his mouth. I've had Bell's palsy before. His mouth was like this for several minutes. And
Shirley Piers Morgan is going to do an entire 2 hours about how unfit he is for the job.
That could be that literally could be a post-stroke symptom when your mouth droops like that. I mean, I thought, people just one shot. It stayed like that, Danielle, for Francesco, for several minutes.
How dare you? No, I'm happy to be confused with Danielle. He probably didn't get much sleep, which also apparently is what Kamala Harris said about Biden's performance in the debate, and he was just tired. And I definitely, that was a tired 80-year-old.
He don't look right, folks. He don't look right. Donald Trump is 79 years. He's 79 years old. Cankles, the bruise on his arm, the face today. The disappearance without any explanation last week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah.
Let's weigh in. Let's get the peanut gallery. Like this?
He was there. Look at that.
Yeah, that doesn't look good.
That does not look. And he was like, it wasn't just a one-off. It was like that for several minutes. I also think your camera hates you and/or might be racist.
Is it blurry now?
It's a little bit blurry.
No, my whole thing is all messed up. I have to change. It's because it's recording locally. It's all stupid. It's stupid.
But we can hear you.
Am I fuzzy now for real?
You're slightly fuzzy. You're
Okay.
like 1998 PC game fuzzy.
No. I hate that. And it's awful. And I'm very disappointed I have a whole new router and everything, but it's a StreamYard thing. Anyway, this is very exciting. Let's read some comments because my face is clearly not up to the task. My face is drooping. RMT Watcher, thank you for your super chat. We seem shocked at the horror of this having been caught on camera to a known figure. We should consider how the same violence has been replicated across thousands of Americans, children, over decades in a much quieter fashion. 100%. I mean, the fact that there is this chilling footage of him being shot, and yet the footage of the children and the random people, like, we don't get this footage of every person who is targeted in a mass shooting. I'd like to think if we did, we would do something. And for the love of God, can we do something so that even raging pieces of shit like Charlie Kirk don't die like this?
Gun control would have saved his life, maybe, or at least reduced shootings like what's happening right now. And Washington Post did this piece. I don't know if you saw this piece, Francesca, where they had to show it in actual 3D images and illustrations what AR-15 bullets do to kids because it's otherwise so graphic. And if you just look at the rendering, just go look at that article, folks. What an AR-15 bullet does to these kids' bodies.
No. I can't. That's.
I know, it's horrible. It's horrible.
I can't with that. I'm gonna continue with some comments. Luckily, I can cry because I know I'm blurry. Waj, you're great. We love you. Can we see your cat, please?
My cat usually comes. If Bilu usually comes, I would love to show you the cat.
Paul, David, these people are trying to escape responsibility for the thing they've created. Absolutely. It's like we've created this mass mob. We've radicalized our base. And so we don't want to be responsible for them. Let's sick them on somebody else. I mean, we've already sicked them on other people. Lauren Boebert, J5LM L5M6 says Lauren Boebert's new district has more livestock than people. Us Coloradans don't gel with that person. No, you don't. Sage and Candle, I called out Jenk today over last night's show. I pissed off a bunch of people. I refuse to shed a tear over Kirk. I'm tired of Jenk berating viewers. You know, the other thing that's happening, Waj, is that there is this what often happens on the internet is that there is an assumption and a presumption that people are celebrating. There's a dancing in the streets. There's a whatever. And it's like, no, there's not. Yeah,
Nope.
maybe there's some callous comment from some rando on the internet. Okay, go hold them accountable. What do you want to do? You want to clamp down on, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, sure, bring the weight of the state against random commenters who didn't show the desired amount of reverence. And even if they did, still maybe are brown immigrants and you hate them. Like, it doesn't. So, like, I think sometimes centrists, and I will call them centrists, and
Yep.
people who think they're liberal or like to think they're progressive, but they really are just centrists, love to shadow box with this imaginary celebratory leftist that is super excited about Charlie Kirk being shot in the neck. And it's like, where?
Yep.
Literally,
Where?
where? Who
Show
are
me
you talking about?
any notable leftist or progressive, notable or elected official yesterday who, I don't know, mocked and ridiculed the shooting by, saying something like the massacre in Utah. That's what Mike Lee did to Governor Walz after the shooting in Minnesota. Or, I don't know, show me anyone who mocked and ridiculed the manner of death the way Donald Trump did with the hammer when it came to Paul Pelosi. Or show me anyone who said, whenever you catch this guy, all my followers on Twitch and YouTube, pay for his bail. That's what Charlie Kirk said when it came to Paul Pelosi's attacker. He wanted to raise money for his bail. No one has done that. They might find some one fringe nut who belongs to nobody, who nobody knows, and they go, see the woke lefties.
Yep.
And that's why we got to call it out. Don't give an inch. Call it out.
I'm going to call out Spectrum and get very mad. No, I want to leave it there because I don't want people to have to suffer through blurry image, even though you're
not
wonderful.
Good. Well, it's not bad. The Substack, we also have 1,500 people watching on Substack, and they told me to tell you, Francesca, you look beautiful. A little blurry, but great. Don't worry.
It's bad. Thank you. Well, I appreciate you jumping on. Always appreciate talking to you about this. These are indeed really scary times. And I think my last thing I want to say is, yes, don't be, I'm not going to police you. I'm not here to tone police you because I don't want us to live in fear. I don't want you to live in fear. I want you to be able to be honest. I don't want us to have to self-censor. And I also want us to have put forward real gun control that can actually stop these kinds of heinous things that are playing out every damn day. These are actionable things. They are nonpartisan things. And I want people to also just because the other side is taking it up to an 11 doesn't mean we have to get to an 11 with them.
Nope.
We don't have to start, building our bunkers or going we don't yet live in the world they want us to live in, and they cannot live in it without our consent to do so.
Absolutely. Well said. And don't concede an inch. Respond in a better way. There is the majority. Educate people, inform people, boycott with your eyeballs and your dollars. Criticize Democrats because the Democrats are at least amenable to change, and we can push them. We have seen all the polls this week. Democrats in New York, when it comes to Gaza and Mamdani and Palestine, my God, talk about that. People, if you would have told me and Francesca 15 years ago that those would be the numbers, I would say, heck no. They look at those same numbers, folks. So be loud, pressure, and then advocate. This is my take, Francesca. Advocate to shut this government down. This government should not be funded because this government and its institutions are now being used to terrorize fellow Americans.
Don't we have another chance to do that?
No, they do. They have an upcoming chance. They should not pass it, and they should have conditions. We will only help you pass the bill to fund the government if you X, Y, and Z. Oh, remove the National Guard. Oh, stop terrorizing brown and black people. Oh, if you
Really?
ensure like free and fair elections, yada 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 yada. Oh, you don't dismantle the Department of Education and friggin' EPA and CDC and so forth.
Allow us to get vaccinated, you fucks. You fucks. I gotta figure out. By the way, I hear Walgreens, they're chill. CVS, no chill. And waltz right in there. And
folks, Francesca made a really good point. Please get vaccinated. I have had a couple of doctors on. They're warning about the viral collapse of America. These are doctors, professionals. They don't talk about
what does that mean, the viral collapse?
It's a term coined by Naomi Klein, but it's the very deliberate collapse of our institutions, and the viral collapse in particular. They're really worried about the public healthcare crisis and the eugenics ideology of RFK and others, where they want people to be more sick, where they want the thinning of the herd. Folks, in addition to measles, there's bird flu. There's also COVID. I know someone who's had all the vaccines and they got sick, several people. So please get vaccinated. Don't take this lightly. Please get vaccinated if you haven't. You don't take it for granted in America. You can't take anything for granted anymore.
No, but also legit, tell them you have a pre-existing condition, because they will ask. But pharmacists cannot follow. They don't have the protocol to follow up. Just be like, I got asthma, whatever, bye. Like, I'm pregnant. Seriously, do it, because you need now to say that you have like hypertension. So say it. I'm serious. Just protect yourself. You don't want it again. You don't want it. People, God, the last time I had fucking terrible migraines. If you already are prone to them, just stay safe, mask up. Thank you, Waj. I'm gonna go figure out what the hell with my internet. You're the best. Everybody,
you look beautiful. You look great. Even in 16-bit, Francesca is a star.
Beam boom 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 boom. I could sing the Tetris song all day long. Everybody subscribe to Waj's Substack, The Left Hook. It is free, but become a paid member. And subscribe to The Bituation Room over on Substack, Franny Fio, FRANIFIO.substack.com. It's the home of The Bituation Room. Streams Tuesdays, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. Also have a new video dropping this weekend, all about why the right is obsessed with Lord of the Rings.
Oh, that's great.
Why is the right obsessed with Lord of the Rings? I look forward. Hopefully, Waj can share it with all his nerds.
And no, I'm so glad you're doing it, because people, Palantir, but also Maloney of Italy.
Yes.
And she thinks that they're the Fellowship. And you're like, yes. I think you misread it. I think you guys always misread pop culture.
Go back. Yes, exactly. All right, Waj. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Happy birthday.